Mind your skulls.
Hello, welcome to episode 141 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name's John Denton, with me as always Chet Roivas.
Harrow.
You know the deal, 2 top 10 lists, 10 being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Let's do this, number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is a game called Samurai Showdown on the Xbox 360. It is an indie game and it came out last week. I think the box art is very inviting. It's just what looks like a watercolour painting of 2 samurai facing off against each other.
And not the fighting game.
Well, it's a fighting game. No, but it's an XSplit game. Is there actually a full game called Samurai Showdown?
It was from the same people that made King of Fighters.
And it's definitely got the same title?
Samurai Showdown, 99% sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, according to the Microsoft blurb underneath the picture, it said that the game's genre was classic. So I think maybe if that's the case, they're trying to sort of direct people towards it in the hopes that they think that it's an old game of some kind, because this is not a classic. But as soon as I saw the box art, I was like, I'll download it. The main game screen is the cover. It's this nice painting of the 2 samurai, one on the left, one on the right, facing each other in a combat stance. And how you play is that you just wait for a flash on the screen, and when the screen flashes, you hit any button on your pad. The person who presses their button first, because it's 2-player, is the winner. There is a 1-player mode, but, you know, whatever. So it's just... There's online play also, apparently, if you want to do that. I mean, this isn't awful. It works. It's 69p, and it's more efficient and functional than, say, synchronising 2 stopwatches if you're really fucking bored or something. I don't know. But just who presses the button first? There you go.
That's it.
It's fine. It works. I mean, but how you get your money's worth out of it, I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it. As you were talking, I just checked on my phone, and that series is called that. I thought I was sure it was also called Samurai Spirits somewhere. But yeah, one-on-one fighting game from SNK.
All right. Okay. In that case, they probably called it that and had it down as a classic in the hopes that someone.
They might have got away with it because I think the original one doesn't have a W in Showdown. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's SHODOWN. So it does have. It's got 1 W as opposed to 2. So yeah, there you go. Story for the day.
Cool.
All right, my number 10 is a game called Secret Ponchos. Have you played this?
It's higher on my list, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, the reason it's number 10 is because I literally couldn't get a game. I could not get a game. I like the look of it. I'm kind of a sucker for that Mexican type thing. I always loved the movie Desperado and all the earlier Robert Rodriguez stuff, and it kind of had that vibe to it. And I was really interested in playing it, and I sat in the lobby on 2 different occasions for 10, 12 minutes and just could not get a game, just said waiting. Just couldn't get a game. So, I mean, technically I played it because I made my character and I opened the program, but I never actually got a chance to have a match, which is really frustrating.
Well, I'll talk about it more in a bit. We'll have to have a game because it's definitely worthwhile, but I'll talk about it in a bit.
Oh.
My number 9 is a game called Frederic, The Resurrection of Music on iOS. I played it on an iPad. It's on an iPhone, obviously. It's I believe it's also available on Steam, and it might be on Android. But this was a listener recommendation. I think it was Chris Spann, the host of the Recycle Bin podcast, recommended it on Twitter, and it is a simple but very, very endearing rhythm action game. The Frederic of the title is Frederic Chopin, or Chopin as I call him, and there's an element of Bill and Ted to the story in which Frederic Chopin is transported to the modern day in order to do battle with a load of contemporary musicians. The story and the cutscenes are really amusing in that kind of strange, lost in translation fashion, like how those old imported 1980s cartoons when we were kids kind of felt. In the way everything makes logical sense, but the dialogue, little things are over-explained and characters are kind of prone to suddenly being really earnest. I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but it's really hard not to like it as well. And yeah, you travel the globe fighting various musicians, and all of the tunes are remixes of concertos by Chopin. So the game is very simple. It's in the Guitar Hero mode, but you're sort of but you're looking at keys on a piano, and there's a star power equivalent and whatnot. But it's very responsive and very engaging. I get if you're looking for problems, some of the characters are a little bit dodgy. There's a Jamaican guy who's perpetually stoned, and there's an American hip hop crew that you run into, and they're also car thieves, etc., etc. But it's the game is very well made, and it's all character. I mean, you could never confuse this game with any other game. There's lots of games that are sort of superficially like it out there, but I really like this. The basic version is free, and there's a 2-player local mode that works great as well. I mean, really entertaining and completely eccentric in a really, I mean, genuinely funny in a completely unique way. So you definitely should download it.
It is on Android because I just checked. There seems to be a sequel as well, Frederic Evil Strikes Back.
I heard about that. Yeah. I don't know. I assume it's this. Obviously, it's the sequel, but isn't that one paid, whereas the first one's free?
They both seem to be free. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's got the same structure. I mean, this one, the Resurrection of Music, has but it's all ads unless you want to pay to have them removed. So, but I really liked it. It's a really enjoyable game.
Installing it right now.
Nice.
Yes. Cool. All right. My number 9 is actually Forza Horizon 2, a game that I've been meaning to go back to a lot and just been too busy. I just stuck it on. I don't know why, because it's just sat on my hard drive. I don't have a disc. I just have it on my hard drive, which is nice. And ended up just cruising around that lovely environment for ages, really, while I was waiting for something else to do, just in a rare 45 minutes or so of spare time. Whether or not I'll actually ever complete the necessary championships to get to the Forza Horizon finale, probably not, realistically. I've kind of felt like that side of me playing that game is done, but just as a venue for just enjoying those mechanics and those visuals, you can't really beat it. I know some of the people that we know just absolutely love the racing side of it. Yeah, I could take that or leave it a little bit. The actual events, I think they're okay. I don't think they're incredible, but I just really, really enjoy that handling model and the environments. I don't think it quite captured my imagination in the same way the first one did, and I think it might just be, I said this before, but it might just be the fact that I've never really seen an environment like the Rockies, Colorado, that the first game set in, whereas I'm very familiar, well, reasonably familiar with kind of beaches and Europe. I've been there a few times. It might be as simple as that, I don't know, but you can't, it's a fucking great game.
It really is. It's actually my number 7. So I might as well jump to it.
Okay.
I haven't played the Xbox One version. I'm going to destroy it over Christmas because there's still a lot of things I haven't done. But I played the 360 demo, which I didn't realise existed. Yeah, there's a demo on 360, and I played that from start to finish. And yeah, as reviews have suggested of the 360 port, it's miraculous. There's obviously a little bit less detail here and there, but it still has the same atmosphere, the same sense of event, and the big moments aren't dulled very much at all. Even seeing the sort of fireworks on the skyline as you approach the festival for the first time, or the first hill you go up in the second race where the sun just beams in. It's lost almost none of the wow factor. I couldn't believe it. There are a couple of slow sort of spinning loading wheels when you're transitioning between menus, and there are less people in the crowds, and it definitely can't quite replicate the spectacle of racing those jets at the end of the demo, because they're quite small on 360 and they move too quickly, and the trails of smoke that they leave behind kind of flicker awkwardly and then vanish. So it's not perfect, but it looks amazing on the whole, and the controls are as tight as they are on Xbox One. I can't vouch for the online. Or even the whole game, obviously, but I did the full demo and I just wanted to keep playing it. It looks like one hell of a port. So don't turn your nose up. If you've got, say, a PS4 and a 360, Forza Horizon 2 is a game to be played. Although you may well be stuck into Drive Club, so you might not even need it. But it's great anyway. An incredibly impressive port.
Yeah, talking of Drive Club, they just dropped the weather patch, which is ridiculous. I heard, I meant to put it on today, but I just didn't get around to it. I'll probably put it on at some point this week. Apparently it's a bit of a game changer, and apparently the rest of the game works as well now, so what a disaster that was.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I'm interested in playing it, but like that game's moment really has gone.
When did it come out?
What, the game itself?
Yeah.
Beginning of October, I think? Yeah, it's like 2 months ago.
Wow. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a while. Way too long. Yeah. Maybe mid to late October, actually, so maybe it's like 6 weeks.
I take it there's been no word on this free chunk that everyone was meant to get on PS Plus.
They've kind of just put it on the back burner. I think it might happen at some point, but not in the immediate future.
Well, as the fact that they've got it working is something, I suppose. It's just, and knowing how much people who exclusively game on Sony devices are keen to love it anyway, I'm sure at least it'll be, that's a game that will get played as well. So
yeah, I'm definitely keen to see this weather stuff, because I read that write-up on Eurogamer, the Digital Foundry one, and they were just raving about it. And that sort of Digital Foundry stuff kind of normally, my eyes glaze over after a couple of paragraphs normally. But you could kind of sense that guy's excitement about rain and globules and stuff. Fair enough, that's what you like. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to take a look. All right, another disaster then is my number 8, and this really is a disaster. The Master Chief Collection, Halo, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even bother trying to get a multiplayer game, as much as I want to play it, and as much fun as we have had on the rare occasions when it's worked. I decided, for some reason, because our brains do stupid things, as a person with very little free time, why not try and complete every single Halo game on Legendary from the beginning? That sounds like a good idea. It's a challenge in the game, and I thought, even if this takes me 4 years, it's a good thing just to have sitting there to keep going back to. So I started at the beginning of the first Halo, a chapter that I've played a billion times in my life. I don't really enjoy it anymore. I just kind of wanted to get through to the good bits and then go from there. But I wanted to do the whole thing, to do it properly. Bashed all the way through, get to the bit where Keyes gives you his gun, and then I died because it's Legendary and it's hard. But it didn't save the checkpoint, so I had to go all the way back to the beginning, and then I did it all again, and then it didn't save the checkpoint again. And I'm like, fuck this game, what is wrong with it? I can't possibly justify playing this shit. It was saying checkpoint saved at the bottom, or checkpoint, or whatever it says in Halo, at the bottom of the screen, but it just wasn't saving them at all. So yeah, that dream was very, very short-lived. So it's almost ruining Halo for me. At least I've still got the old copy sitting there in my drawer. But if I ever wanted to play the remastered version, I have that as well. But I wanted this sitting on my hard drive, play it out, and the fucker doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I've not encountered any problems like that. Are you sure you didn't accidentally put a skull on or go to a certain playlist where that skull was on by default? Because I've played all fairly significant sections of all 4 of the campaigns, and nothing like that's happened.
No, I have as well. I played separate bits. This was on a specific playlist, but it said checkpoint done, like in the game, both times, and it just wasn't. It just came back.
But isn't there like an Iron Man skull?
No, it's not. It's not. There was no skulls. Definitely not.
Have you checked if this is a problem? I mean,
yeah. This is definitely a problem. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of things with this sort of stuff happening online.
All right.
You never believe me or trust me, which is that time you thought you couldn't change difficulty in Destiny. Yeah, cheers for that. But
yeah, that was because other people were in charge. I didn't realise how it worked. So there. But I've played so much Halo that I don't know. That's strange. That's bad. Obviously.
Yeah. It's probably unique to doing it in that playlist instead of just starting it the normal way. It's probably some bug, but well, it's definitely a bug. But at the same time, that dream was quickly slapped out of my mouth. Not that I keep dreams in my mouth.
Why was it in your mouth?
I don't know what I'm saying. Master Chief has upset me, and I never thought that would happen. I can't believe the Chief has upset me.
I will go and investigate at some point next time I
you do that.
Which will probably be tomorrow, and then I'll send you a text. And I'll say, hey, you've had the skulls on. Know what I mean?
Yeah. I look forward to you forgetting about doing that.
Hold on a second. One of those? Some of those playlists do have specific modifiers.
I know they do. The good thing is about my eyes is that they work and they can read.
All right, I'm going to check this out tomorrow.
Oh, the worst person I've ever met.
I know there's been some misunderstanding somewhere. Because how have I not encountered that problem?
Because it was unique to this playlist, which you probably haven't done.
I'm pretty sure we did start playing on that playlist. I'm pretty sure because we had that conversation, my friend and I, and we were like, yeah, we're going to do the whole thing. I'm pretty sure we even played that playlist. I don't know. We'll talk about this tomorrow when I point out that you pressed the wrong button or something. But anyway, my number 8. Did you try multiplayer? I take it you haven't been.
I didn't try again. No, I couldn't be asked. Actually, I think I did try and get in the game, but it didn't work.
I turned it on very briefly yesterday, and there was a new message up from Bungie. 343 saying that they'd fixed it. Not that they fixed it. There'd been another update, and
we fixed it. Yeah, Bungie joke,
right? I mean, apparently it's another series of fixes have gone live, but I don't know. I'll play it over the weekend, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, okay. My number 8 is actually 2 games. It's Titanfall and Battlefield 4.
The classics.
Yeah, I'm pretty much certain that I'm stepping away from Destiny now. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little while. Yeah. So instead, I played these two a little bit with some friends who were on the same page as me. Titanfall I bought for £10 in that Black Friday sale.
Oh, you did it, did you?
I already owned all of the DLC, which was part of the deal, amazingly, but I just wanted Titanfall on my hard drive, and that's worth a tenner, easily. It's funny because buying discs for the Xbox One, I can't get over how pointless it feels these days, because if you don't have an Xbox One, when you insert a disc, all it does is send a signal to Xbox Live that you own the game. The software is always on your hard drive already anyway. And I've started becoming really paranoid about using discs, because the machine wasn't meant to have discs endlessly taken in and out of it. It was meant to be essentially disc-free. And I'm convinced that there was cost-cutting measures taken. They must have taken advantage of some there, because... I don't know. And I do wish there was some way of returning a disc to the publisher as a sign of the fact that you aren't going to cost them a sale by reselling it in exchange for a download code. But I don't know. But then if they did that, they wouldn't get the extra £10 that I got from buying it again on Black Friday. Although I did sell my old physical copy and cost them a sale. I don't know. Sorry, I don't even know why I went down this road.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. And the 500 gig hard drive, that's a horror show.
Yeah.
I've had to delete almost everything I own over the past few weeks.
It's ridiculous.
It's Xbox One. What are you? Why do you exist? But anyway, Titanfall is still predictably, unbelievably good. Just a joke, a cast iron joke of a video game. And Battlefield 4 is much, much better than either of us gave it credit for the other week when we talked about the new maps. I think we were just playing too much Destiny, and Battlefield did feel outdated when, having played it the other night with some friends, I just remembered that it is so much its own thing, and other things will come and go, but there's always Battlefield. Battlefield 4 is flawed to high heaven, but there's still no comparison to be made. Battlefield is, I'm looking forward to taking a proper look at those new maps over Christmas, because I think I might have judged them a bit harshly initially. But yeah, tights and bats all day.
Yeah, not played either in the past couple of weeks, but always got time for tights, obviously.
Yeah, quite.
Obviously. Okay, I'm pretty sure the next game, which is my number 7, is on your list. In fact, I'm 99% sure it is. It's called City Sleeps. It is called that, isn't it? I just had a brain meltdown.
A City Sleeps.
Yeah.
I think it's A City Sleeps, yeah.
Yeah. The Harmonix 2D shoot-em-up, shmup, whatever you want to call it, which I don't think anybody knows exists, really. But... God, this is going to be difficult to explain, actually, thinking about it. Right, so you play... It's a 2D shoot... Okay, let me get my mind around this. I've been a bit arrogant and just written it down without writing down an explanation of what the game actually is. So it's a 2D shoot-em-up, like a bullet hell shoot-em-up. You play as this little character, and everything goes in time to the music, so it kind of has a res vibe to it. So every shot plays a little... noise over the beat of the music that's playing in the background. Every hit that you have on the enemies will play a different sound effect, and so you're kind of creating the song as you're playing. It works a very, very similar way to Res. There's still a song going, but you add layers to it as you shoot things. In many ways, it just replicates the kind of side-scrolling shoot-em-up that you might have played before, dodging in and out of bullets. There's a little boost. It's a twin stick, though, I think. Yeah, of course it is. So it has that going for it, which is slightly different to a lot of games in that genre. But it has this really weird kind of wrinkle, I guess you'd call it, where there's big chunks of like items that float around in the environments, these kind of weirdly hand-drawn environments. And you can either attack them so that they feed you health, or they become almost like a turret for you, and you can switch between them. So every little encounter becomes this sort of slightly strategic thing where you have to choose whether you want something to heal you or an extra bit of help in the field, as it were, while you're trying to clean out these enemies that are absolutely spamming you with bullets. I'm no expert in this genre, as you know, and as people will know, but I thoroughly enjoyed what I played. I played probably about an hour's worth, repeating some of the sections and playing some of the different songs. There's not a huge amount of content there, but I thoroughly enjoyed and was kind of almost blown away at points by what I played. I'll probably defer to you as an expert in the genre to talk about it more, assuming it's on your list. But I think it's a really, really cool game. I picked it up in a sale over Thanksgiving, the Steam sale, for I think it's like £7 or £8. Like I said, it is a bit slight in terms of content, but it's the type of game that's very, very much replayable and designed around replay. You can tell that, and it just has that kind of harmonics. When they innovate and when they do stuff, there is literally no studio in the world that can kind of match what they do, or it would even think about the ideas that they have. Those ideas could not exist from almost anywhere else. They're born out of this company that has so much experience in marrying music to gameplay, and it's basically created that in the first place. Well, they didn't, but they certainly perfected it, I would say, over the years, and are now branching out into all these interesting ways of doing it, with Fantasia, with that Chroma game, the free-to-play shooter, which I'm dying to have a go on, even if it's, I don't know what's happening with that really, but that sounds fascinating. And now this, and other stuff going forward as well. And they're doing the mainstream stuff like Dance Central and whatnot. But I'll always be a huge harmonics fan, so I'm glad I picked this up. And really, really, really impressive. Very, very cool. And I love the music as well, which helps.
Yeah. Incidentally, if you're looking forward to Amplitude next year, the Harmonix podcast, not the most recent episode, which was like a happy birthday where they reminisce about the early days of Rock Band, which is good. The episode before that, they just keep splicing in little bits of music that's going to be in Amplitude, and it sounds so good. It just sounds excellent. I mean, one thing I didn't know about Frequency and Amplitude, although they had names like they were official remixes by other artists, almost all of it was made by them. I had
really?
absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. That's why some of those tracks, I remember trying to find them at certain points, and they're impossible to find because Harmonix made them in the first place. A City Sleeps on my list. It's on my list, but it's a little bit higher up. So, but I'll just do it anyway.
Okay.
I think I bought it in the same day on the same sale as you. I think because you told me about it. I don't know how Harmonix developed Bullet Hell Shooter didn't get bought on launch day, but. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really stunning. I've played it for going on 3 hours, I think, and the only issue with it that I had is that the tutorial was really slapdash, and I went in not understanding what was happening. Really, but
clueless.
Yeah, but it didn't take me very long because it is actually really simple. It's like you said, it's a shooter where the main gameplay system is that you possess these, I'd call them bits of wreckage. They look like pieces of buildings and stuff, and one of them hurls projectiles, and one of them can sort of be a platform that you rush to regenerate health, or it can sort of throb, and the waves that it creates cause damage when anything's in close proximity to it. But by and large, it's very simple. And as you just said, nobody makes music games like Harmonix. I think it's because almost all of them are actually musicians. Their games just always feel worthwhile in ways that other music games don't, because you're always playing with the music. It's sometimes really hard in this game to stop shooting. I had to stop myself from stopping shooting because it was to my detriment, but I just wanted to alter the beat in the background. It also helps that the music is excellent, obviously, but it's also really, really hard. There are only 3 levels, but the multiple difficulty settings, I kind of balked at the beginning because I was just like, the fact that Harmonix had the gall to call it a bullet hell shooter, I was like, pfft. But after a while, you realise it's full strength. It's there are stretches of it that are Cave standard. Cave could have made this game because it does get brutal at around the halfway mark. I'd say. But the easy levels, if you're not keen on a game of mad difficulty, the easy levels, they're worth the price of admission alone, I think. But it's so weird to see Harmonix in such a fertile period, because they've always taken things slowly because they've had that cash cow to back them up constantly. But they've released 3 games this year already. I kind of love it. I also love the fact that they haven't over-delivered. Those 3 levels, it doesn't sound like much content, but they're almost perfect. So this is excellent. I mean, I loved it. I loved it every second more and more than the last. So if you like Harmonix games or if you like shooters, I recommend it very highly.
Likewise, absolutely. Yeah, very glad I picked it up, even though technically not my genre, but kind of is really, because anything interesting with music games, I'm always gonna, it's always going to pique my interest, especially if it is made by Harmonix. Right,
okay,
well, where are we now?
What was that?
That was my 7.
So my 6.
Have you done 7?
I started, didn't I? Yeah, I did do my 7. It was something or other. I can't remember, but yeah, my number 6 is oh my god, what was my 6? I can't believe it. I didn't write it down. What the fuck was it called? Geometry Wars 3. That's what it was. I take it you haven't played this?
No, I've not.
Okay, it came out last week or the week before, and I was like, "This is an insta buy."
Yeah.
I played the first 2 to death, and I was more than ready for a new one. So I went onto Xbox One, and I was going to buy it, and then I saw it was like £13-14, and I just thought that does seem a little bit steep. It's something that I will only ever play in short bursts, and none of my friends have it, so there's no chance of any online competition, which is the great thing about this. Definitely the second one. So I think it's something that I may pick up during a sale at some point, and then I'll hassle my friends into doing the same. I don't want to speak out of turn. You know, by several accounts, it's worth that money, but the way I'd play it, it just didn't seem worth it. It certainly doesn't seem worth it at this point in time when I've got a million games I still need to play. But I wanted to try it, and needless to say, there's no demo on Xbox One. Partially because that store was built by people who apparently didn't know what a demo was in the first place. So I downloaded the Xbox 360 demo, and it's incredibly stingy. It's 1 gameplay mode and 2 levels, each lasting about 90 seconds each.
Okay.
And you don't really get a great idea of what you're getting, you know, if you were to pay, you know. I mean, it feels great to play. It looks great, and you're moving around on these sort of flattened spheres and stuff, and the music's good. But if a demo's job is to convince people to buy the full game, I was like, I wasn't massively interested after I finished the demo. And I do think they've priced it wrong, maybe. I'm sure Geometry Wars 2 still has the magic, so if I really needed a fix, I'd just jump back in and play that. I'll wait for a price drop, and then, yeah, like I said, hassle some friends into getting it with me. But I liked what I played, but it was just like, there wasn't enough of it. I was just like, okay, well, that's like, it's the smallest taster of a game I can remember playing.
Yeah, I'm interested in playing, obviously, but yeah, I saw that price as well, and I was a bit put off, especially this time of year. It's tough to drop that sort of dollar on something that you might not really get much time out of.
Yeah, I think that's mainly the problem is the fact that it's so busy at the moment, and that would be an insta buy, even a few quid less. It's just, I don't know, it's too close to being something that needs to be thought about too much, which is what I've done. So there you go.
Yeah, well, it's just gone full on storm outside my house. It's crazy.
We had that about an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
Might be the same one.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Keeping it real.
Okay, my number 6 then is this my number 6? Yes. My number 6 is actually Dragon Age Inquisition, which I'm assuming is on your list because I think I saw you playing it.
Yeah, it's far higher on my list.
That's fine. This was a really handy thing. EA Access gave you 6 hours of this game for free. Well, it's not free because you pay for EA Access, but that's not very expensive, which was ideal for me because I'd heard great things about this game, but I didn't like the first 2. And I wanted to try it to see if it was my cup of tea. So I played about an hour of it, I'd say. I didn't, you know, I'm not going to go into detail of what the game is. I guess we'll do that with you later. But instantly, I was kind of put off by the dialogue, and the voice acting just left me very, very cold straight away. And I'm not much for high fantasy as it is. It doesn't really do a great deal for me. And the first 2 Dragon Ages didn't do a great deal for me either. And in comparison to something like Mass Effect, where, you know, the dialogue is tight and believable and the acting is strong, it wasn't doing anything for me. But I was I was prepared to give it a go, and I was enjoying moving through the nice mountainous environments and stuff like that. And then another game that don't work properly. A bug hit me where I could no longer choose dialogue options. That wouldn't flash up. And there was a fix where I had to press the left bumper button. I was playing on Xbox One, obviously. And then that would allow me to select one, but I still couldn't highlight it, and I kept selecting the wrong one. And I just thought, why do no games work anymore? Why do no games work? And I've read loads online, there's loads of bugs with this game. And I just thought, I might go back to it, but it's not doing a great deal for me, and now it's stopped working. So, I'm just getting fed up, to be honest.
It is a problem. One of the weird things about Dragon Age Inquisition is I haven't heard much noise about how buggy it is, but it really is fucking buggy. I mean, I think that it's far less problematic than some of Ubisoft's most recent releases, but for a game that's been sort of praised for how it looks and how it performs, I haven't really heard a great deal about how. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about it in a bit, but there are definitely issues. Definitely.
Yeah, they brought up a lot of them on Giant Bombcast a couple of weeks ago that I was listening to, but yeah, I hadn't really seen anything apart from that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk about a few of them in a minute.
All right.
But in the meantime, my number 5 is a game called Ascension: Climb the Tower on the Xbox 360. This is an indie game, and in case you didn't realise from the title, it is an utterly blatant rip-off of Towerfall Ascension.
Right.
But it's a very, very, very good one.
Oh, really?
It's made by the same people, or the same person who made Little Flappers, which was a Flappy Bird clone that was not only better than the original in every way, it also had 4-player co-op that worked pretty damn well as well. And this is similarly well made. It's first off, I mean, I should probably point this out that this is actually 3 games in one. I mean, first of all, there is the Towerfall Ascension game mode, which not only has a fairly decent spread of levels, it also has its own really easy to use level creator as well.
That's cool.
Then there's a sort of reskin of that mode that's sort of a cooperative horde style thing, and that works pretty well also. But lastly, and definitely not leastly, is another gameplay mode in which you actually ascend a tower, either alone or with 1 or 2 or 3 friends, and it's really good. It's unbelievably difficult, but it's really, really funny. You're just bouncing upwards, trying to avoid obstacles, and obviously avoiding the bottom of the screen also. And there's a very clever element to the control scheme which allows you to basically bounce off specific parts of walls. So you can zip up the screen really quickly. And whether you decide to wait for your friends or not is up to you. It's really fun. And even though it really isn't, it has been assembled with such skill that it kind of feels original, even though there's nothing original about any part of the package. There's 4-player local co-op. Obviously, there's the 3 gameplay modes. There's a map editor, which I did play around with and built a few things. I'm pretty sure this is 69p or $1.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm a little bit torn because on the one hand, it does suck that games can be so freely ripped off like this. But on the other hand, people who can't play Towerfall for whatever reason or haven't played it, it's kind of great that they get to do so here. And as a fan of Towerfall Ascension, it's amazing to see how well its appeal has been replicated. It has that same one more go factor. We were playing it for way longer than anticipated because it's really fun. But I don't know how you feel about it being a rip-off, but it's you can't deny that it's very, very well made indeed.
What was it called? Ascension: Climb the Tower.
Ascension: Climb the Tower, yeah, and it's it has that same. It functions the way Towerfall does, and it's as bracing as that game. So if you have a 360 and you're prone to downloading indie games, that's got to be one worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, considering the game isn't even out on Xbox platforms,
that's what I mean. That's
the world, is it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, if you can't play it, the fact that you can this way, and that they've clearly a lot of work's gone into making sure that it was just right. So yeah, hard not to recommend, really.
Yeah, and Towerfall's mustard.
Yes.
All right, my number 5 is Titan Attacks, actually on PS4. Have you played this? This is on the
I
PS4.
spoke about it when it came out like months ago.
But did it come out months ago?
Yeah, it's months old. It came out. It was like a cross-buy game.
Oh.
I think Curve distributed it.
Yeah.
And it was. Yeah, I mean, it looks nice. It plays okay, but it is literally just Space Invaders.
Yeah, gets a bit more hectic as you power through it. It was on PS Plus this month. I completely blanked that you played this. Apologies. Apologies.
Yes.
It is just Space Invaders. I didn't like the fact that the rhythm of your gun shooting was inconsistent. So that really bothered me, to be honest.
Inconsistent? How out of sync? You mean?
Yeah. So if you were hammering X, it would just come at kind of random intervals, which made certain parts of it very difficult. In a kind of unsatisfying way. The more I played, the better it got. The music was weird. It's kind of like jazzy, which it's kind of unusual to hear this weird kind of jazzy music going into a game like that. It was fine. It was like, at first I thought it was garbage, and then I played a bit more and powered up my little car or whatever the hell you want to call it, a little ship thing. It's a car, fuck it. And the game got a bit better, but then I just thought, I'm sitting there, I was like, what am I doing this for? I mean, it's free, so thank you, appreciate that. Well, as free as any PS Plus game is. But it's not doing anything particularly interesting or original or new. It's not doing when they did the new Space Invaders game on the phones, what was that called? Space Invaders Extreme, maybe? I can't remember.
It came out. Didn't that come out on consoles as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was kind of cool. And then you like along that, on that same tip, like the Pac-Man DX or anything that takes a really old idea and really spices it up. This isn't really doing that. It's just kind of a more hectic, slightly faster version of Space Invaders that takes a long time to get going. It's all right. I don't want to be too mean about it. I couldn't make it, but yeah, it's like all right. Just I don't know. It's like at that point I was like, is this what I do now? Just play everything and do this, or I've only got so many hours left in my life. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should do something else.
Yeah, I think my reaction was fairly similar. I almost completed it, I think, and I just thought, this is it's well made enough to be engaging, but why would you? Yeah, I was lost on me as well, but you can't complain. It's a freebie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not really complaining.
All right. Well, that's as long as that's the case, we're all good. My number 4 is the aforementioned PS Plus game Secret Ponchos on PlayStation 4. It's not quite. It's just PS4 only, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is pretty damn good. It's ludicrously simple and slight, but it's damn good. However, the one thing that I will never understand is that every single player's first introduction to the gameplay is via an 8-player free-for-all mode. That's frustrating as fuck and doesn't even properly illustrate what the game even is. I mean, that's I assume the mode that you couldn't get into.
Yeah, I was just sitting there forever. That was free for all. Yeah, I remember it. I've read it many times over.
Maybe people have stopped playing that mode because they've realised that there's no reason to play that mode because it's you've seen it. I assume top-down, third-person.
Yeah, I watched the video.
Yeah. The 8-player mode just involves running around looking for 2 or 3 people in a gunfight, focusing your attention on the person with the least amount of health and then killing them. So all people ever do is look for kills to steal, and it's not really any fun at all. So I was ready to just trash it and say, good night. But when you start playing the game properly, which is 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2, it starts to make much more sense because it's kind of like a combination of a fighting game and a card game. You have... I don't know, actually it's not a card game at all. It's more like a fighting game, I suppose, if I had to compare it to anything. You have one firearm or a pair of firearms and a secondary weapon like a dynamite or a bullwhip and a dodge move that is connected to a very slender stamina gauge.
Right.
And it alternates between being a kind of quiet game of cat and mouse and a really frenzied action game, and it just works. I'm a little worried about shelf life because it's so simple that it feels kind of fragile. Playing each different gameplay mode, I tended to encounter the same characters over and over again, specific to each mode. So it felt as if the community had already realised that certain characters work better in certain situations. So if you play that 8-player free-for-all mode, all you will see is the dual-wielding guy with the dynamite. And that's because that character just works in that scenario, I guess. I mean, people have realised that, and I was getting annihilated by that character. So I don't know how it will hold up in the long term. And maybe it is painstakingly balanced. It's too early to say. It just feels strangely fragile at the moment. But in the short term, it's another thoroughly decent PS Plus game. I don't think anyone in the world is likely to be playing it in 6 months' time, say. But for now, for a quick blast now and again, it's all good.
Yeah, I want to play it, but I just can't.
Well, let's have a 1 versus 1 because that's when the game gets really interesting.
Okay, yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, my number 4. Yep, my number 4 is The Evil Within. Finally finished it. One of my longest ever games to ever finish. It's just been a marathon, to be honest. I don't really know why. Clocked in about 17 hours, but I don't think that was actually true. It kind of lost its way a little bit towards the end. It didn't manage to keep up that same level. Chapters 11 and 12 were not that strong. Picked up a bit again in 13, and it just kind of dropped the ball a little bit here. And then the very, very end was strong and good. Overall, I absolutely loved the game, but there was no need for. There's one of those chapters that should just be on the cutting room floor. Like there's a bit where you're driving a bus and enemies are popping in the distance and it looks shit. The controls are. I mean, it's seconds long, but why that wasn't on the cutting room floor, I have no idea. A few bits like that spoiled the pace of. I mean, to call it a story is a bit of a stretch, but the narrative had a kind of a pace and a mood to it that even though I didn't know what the fuck was going on, I felt inside of it, which is kind of all that matters sometimes. But I was being pulled further and further out by a lengthy trudge through this kind of The Last of Us type mission, which goes on for ages and is eventually quite hard, well, very hard, in fact, on the standard survival difficulty. And then the level after that was kind of piss. Like I said, it picked up and then dropped and then picked up, and overall it just kind of left me wanting to rush to the end, which is always a shame for a game that you've enjoyed for so long. But I immediately went back and started the game again, so that says a lot. And stopped myself because that was silly, and I need to play other things, especially considering how long I've been playing this game for. But still, I mean, it's not Mikami's best game, but it has elements and moments which are some of the best that I've played in any of his games, for sure. And I do think it has the hallmarks of a classic without being quite a classic. Some breathtaking moments of creativity in the set design, and some very, very tight gameplay that kind of blends between very one-note stealth and kind of classic Resi 4-esque gunplay. But I won't forget some of those sights in that game. The tension, how frantic Chapter 10 was. It's like I don't think I've ever played anything so frantic as that. That was absolutely relentless. The constant shifts in tone and in environments that you never knew for a long period of that game. You never knew what was coming next, and that was an absolutely brilliant feeling to have playing a one-player AAA, for want of a better turn of phrase, game in 2014, to have that level of unpredictability, because almost everything you play through these days in that space is very, very well predictable. You know what you're getting, you know where it's going. So to release something that brave in that way was cool, and by all accounts it's actually sold quite well. But yeah, ended up pissing me off a little bit towards the end, but still very worthwhile experience. It seems to be already about 2p on every format, so I'd highly recommend picking it up. See what you think. Did
it sell well then?
Apparently it's sold some nonsense statement like the best selling new IP in the survival horror genre ever, or something like that, or best selling, but yeah, or the new, I don't know. Apparently, yeah, it's done better than people thought it was going to do.
Good. I mean, I did like it. I mean, I'm sure there's bits of it. I've played so many games since then that it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But I thought that the game just progressively got better. I don't remember any hurdles, apart from the bit that you mentioned to me the other day with is it the lasers or is it like beams of light that you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, it's like these spotlights. It's really, the whole section, you could do it in 25 seconds if you don't die, but really unnecessarily frustrating and stupid section where you get spotted by these spotlights and then get spiked. And I must have died about 10 times on it. It was just driving me nuts. Yeah, and it served no purpose whatsoever. It was just crap. It didn't look good. It was just rubbish. There was a few bits like that, which, considering it's not a short game, it's not like a 6-hour game like many games are these days. It's long, so there was a few bits that could have gone on the floor, but whatever. I mean, once I got past that bit, it didn't really bother me anymore. But yeah, I think a problem that I had when playing, I played almost the entire game on normal. I eventually had to knock it down to the casual difficulty right at the end on the very last level, just because I just kept running out of ammo. It wasn't that I was dying. I just kept running out of ammo and having to be in situations where there'd be 4 or 5 guys and trying to like melee one of them on the off chance he'll drop one bullet and then hopefully using that to kill one more. When it got those moments right, when you really felt like you had to use everything in your arsenal and identify the traps in the room and perhaps shoot one and line baddies up with one harpoon and stuff like that, really effective, very, very tense, and genuinely tapped into the survival element of survival horror, which is always a part of that genre, which is words that Mikami made up anyway, that gets overlooked. People just say survival horror is shorthand for a horror game, but no, it's kind of specific. You need that kind of low ammo tension sense that you really are trying to survive and do so by the skin of your teeth. And weirdly, Halo has some of those elements without the horror part. When Evil Within got that right, banging, but it just started, for me, getting it very wrong towards the end. I'm sure other people had a bit more ammo and were better for it, but it was getting to the point where I literally couldn't defeat the enemies in front of me because there wasn't enough ammo, and that's fucking irritating, to be honest.
Yeah. I can't. There was. I toned it down. I turned it down to easy, kind of, and then forgot that I'd done it. So I would rather have gone further on normal than I did. But I'm sure that the second half, there's things in it that I really like that you didn't. I mean, I remember I liked the stealth bits at the beginning and quite a bit, and you didn't like those at all.
Yeah.
So.
And I loved the bit with the box head man in with the valves.
Rubbish,
You hated it, so yeah.
Pure trash. But yeah, I like the game, and I do think it's worth picking up if you haven't already, especially if it's 2p, as you say.
Well, yeah, it's definitely like 20 quid now.
Tuppence. All right. Well, my number 3 we've done already. It's A City Sleeps.
Okay. So my number 3 is Game of Thrones, a telltale series.
Oh yeah.
Game of Thrones. I'm sure people know what this is from the makers of The Walking Dead, although not the specific writers of The Walking Dead. The first episode of the 6th part, I believe, Game of Thrones Telltale game. I mean, it is very, very much a modern Telltale game. If you played The Walking Dead, if you played A Wolf Among Us, presumably if you played Tales from the Borderlands, which I haven't yet, it's the same in terms of its structure. A slightly choppy, sketchy engine, comic book.
Still?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be. It's not as stuttery, but it's still a bit choppy. So that kind of comic booky, graphic novel-y art style here, it's kind of overdone with watercolours. It looks nice, certainly when the camera's not moving anyway. And a game mainly about dialogue and choices. Unlike The Walking Dead, though, which was an established universe but a completely new story, a new set of characters, Game of Thrones kind of jumps in between that and the reality. The reality of the TV show, in that it has actual characters and performances from the actors that play those characters in the TV show. So it does something that the other games haven't done, really. You play as various members of the Forrester house, which in Game of Thrones is a bunch of houses. The Starks are a house where Sean Bean is in the first series, and these bunch are loyal to them. They live up in the north. They're kind of rugged Northerners. You don't need to know more than that. I know you're not a big Game of Thrones guy.
Not myself, no.
But they're kind of fairly. The whole thing starts at, if you know Game of Thrones, and I'm not going to throw any spoilers out there, but the first event of the game is set at the Red Wedding, which is a really infamous part of the Game of Thrones story. I won't go into what happens, but your character that you play at the beginning is outside and needs to get away, and then the game starts when he gets back to House Forrester, like where they live, basically. And then basically, like The Walking Dead, it's a game about conversations with the occasional QTE and the occasional very light point-and-click bit thrown in. If you played those games, you know exactly what to expect. But what Game of Thrones does fantastically, all those games make you make decisions, and those decisions have long-reaching and serious consequences, and they're very, very tough. And they write the characters well enough so you feel like those decisions are difficult to make. What Game of Thrones does differently, though, is because you are, for the first episode anyways, major scenes interacting with characters that you'll know from the TV show. So there's one kind of lengthy scene where you're being interrogated by Cersei, like the queen, in the throne room, and she is like a notoriously manipulative and very unpleasant woman, and she's trying to cut you down basically verbally, and it's all in the presence of Peter Dinklage, Tyrion, who gives a much better performance than he does in Destiny, mainly because he obviously knows what he's doing with this character, and the dialogue's a little bit better, to say the least. But you have this brilliant scene where you're getting cut down by her, and you're working out whether you need to play loyalties to her, the loyalties to the people back home, loyalties to the woman you're with, who's played by Natalie Dormer, or if you want to try and get Tyrion on side. And it's all done very carefully through dialogue choices, and it's all very convincing to people who've watched the TV show and presumably who've read the books, which I haven't. And then in the standout scene later on, you're interacting with Ramsay Snow, who's I can't remember. It's Ewan. I forget his surname. Sorry, he's the chap who's in Misfits and in Game of Thrones. Very good actor, and his performance in the game is fantastic as well. And this really long, very very tense scene where you're interacting with him, and basically it's fan service on a completely different level. Like the promise of licensed games has always been to kind of put you in the world of something that you're a fan of or excited by, but it's always been pretty much universally with any licensed game. Yeah, it puts you in that world, but it gives you a gameplay mechanic that is of a video game. You just happen to be in that world, and there might be characters there, but all that stuff is kind of scenery, really. Whereas this, you're literally doing what happens in the TV show. Most of that show is just about politics, intrigue, betrayal, and long stretches of dialogue and interaction. That's what the show mainly is, and this is what you're in the middle of that with the characters from the show, making choices that have these really occasionally devastating consequences. And while there are some moments that sag for sure, there really are, like the middle section and sort of the bit just after the beginning do sag quite a bit compared to those highlight scenes. It's worth the price of entry easily for anyone who's a fan of the show, just for those scenes alone. It's up there in terms of tension, in terms of excitement with the Walking Dead games. Whether or not the characters will be strong enough in the long run, the made-up characters, this is as Lee and Clementine in Series 1 of that, I don't know. Couldn't know yet. My instincts say no, but there's a long way to go. But there's some real money scenes in there, real money scenes. I will say, though, if you're not a fan of Game of Thrones, you'll be clueless. You'll be clueless going in. It assumes you are, which I think is a fair assumption for them to do. So there's a lot of people and stuff that they talk about that you wouldn't have a clue about. So for you specifically, I probably wouldn't recommend it.
So there are like legitimate spoilers for Game of Thrones in the game. Obviously, you have to have seen up to a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I suppose that is a fair assumption if to assume that most people are up to speed. So it's a bit better than that Game of Thrones game we saw that time.
Oh my god! Yeah, not that I've ever played that game, but yeah, that game looked like the U-bend of a toilet, and this is really good. Like I went straight on to our friend Matt, who I know is a Game of Thrones nerd like me, and was like, "You got to play this. You're going to love it." And generally the feedback that I've read is very positive.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I mean, I'll stay away until I've seen the show if I ever get around to watching it. But good. That's good. The fact that it comes even close to sort of replicating the style and sort of just the way that those things are made and the way that sort of very specific dialogue and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's a very specific world. So the fact that they've replicated that in any degree is quite something, I guess.
Yeah, I played it with my wife, who doesn't play any games really, but is obsessed with Game of Thrones. She's read all the books. She absolutely loves it. She loved this. She was completely and utterly into it and couldn't wait for the next. She can't wait for the next episode to come out. She was completely invested in what was happening. So yeah, I mean, you can tell like it's strong because if it was normally she just laughs when she hears cutscenes from games coming out, which is she's well within her rights to do most of the time.
Okay, good. When is the next episode?
I don't actually know. I think they're trying to tighten up their pipeline because I remember the gap between the first and second episodes of the first series of The Walking Dead was huge. It was like 4 months or something, 3 or 4 months. So hopefully we'll see it early next year. They'll be like really early next year. As
long as they don't rush it, obviously, because that would be wank.
Well, yeah. But I don't know. Considering they've got these big names in there, the big actors in there. I don't know whether they've recorded everything already or couldn't possibly know. So that might hold things up a little bit if they're having to wait for people's schedules and whatnot. But I don't know. That's their problem. I just hope it comes out.
Quite. Yeah, I do. I'm hoping that either that or. Because Telltale normally launch episode 1 of one of their things for free on Christmas Eve, don't they? They did that last year with Evil Within. Not the Evil Within, the Wolf Among Us. And then the year before it was series 1 of Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping they...
Have they done series 2 of Walking Dead?
They might. I'm just thinking they might do that. Although, actually, have they done that? I think I've got that on my hard drive. I still haven't touched it.
Very good. I need to do the rest of that. And their first episode was great.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I know that I might as well just wait for a drop in the season pass. Although there was a drop in the season pass, but it was on Xbox One, and I wanted to have the decisions I'd made up to that point.
Yeah, cool.
and I don't think you can transfer them from 360 to Xbox One.
Yeah, although maybe you can.
Maybe you can. I didn't even look. I just assumed I'm an ass. Know what I mean? Okay, all right. Well, my number 2 is Dragon Age Inquisition on the. I played on PlayStation 4. It's on isn't it on last gen as well? Like 360, PS3. It's on everything. Yeah. I've done the first 10 hours or so, and as I understand it, the game has not even properly begun yet.
Wow.
Even 10 hours in, the game still feels a little bit narrow, which is how Dragon Age 2 felt the whole way through. Apparently, Dragon Age 2 now is one of the worst games ever made or something, but I quite enjoyed that at the time. Inquisition, though, is something else altogether. It's already completely clear that this is BioWare at their most focused and their most inventive.
Oh, really?
The only problem is that it's also clearly a Skyrim-style time sync.
Right.
You really have to be prepared for that. I mean, I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to choose to get completely and utterly lost in this over Christmas, and I suspect that those people are going to be pretty much blown away by what they get. Again, it's too early to say, but I'm getting Mass Effect 2 vibes from it, just in sort of terms of how smartly structured it is. And you didn't like. What was your problem with the dialogue? You just didn't.
Maybe. My boy made me choose the fucking stupidest looking character. It was just this green woman with big horns, and she's just rubbish. And I just said she kind of looked like if Miranda was in Doctor Who, and I think that was a large part of the problem. I think I might just restart it, seeing as it's fucked anyway. I think I might just start from the beginning with a character I actually like.
Okay, I hope you're not talking. Don't talk shit about the horned woman, because that's who I picked. That's who I picked. But yes, I just got similar vibes from Mass Effect 2, because there are places in the game, locations, that I kind of hated visiting, just because the way they were animated, they had a kind of grim history to them. Maybe it's just all in my head, but the grimness of the story of Inquisition is kind of everywhere, and it's really tantalising, and it's never tasteless or anything. It's just it's grim in a really palatable way. Over the 10 hours that I've played so far, the game kept getting better and better. And once I discovered how to do everything and how everything works and where everything is, and the temptation was just to throw the phone off the hook and just get lost. What I will say in the negative, as we mentioned earlier, they really, I mean, this is a much buggier game than I'd heard. Almost all of the bugs that I encountered are cosmetic, but occasionally I saw. I mean, I kept seeing NPCs either vanishing in large groups and then reappearing, or walking robotically into scenery. And there are loot pickups. Loot pickups have a habit of not registering if the ground underneath the loot isn't completely flat.
Right.
If you have to get up a comrade in combat, the little dial is so small you can't even see the progress. Really, it's a really strange decision. But sometimes they're much more fundamental. There was one incident where I had to partake in a horse race, but the horse that I needed to race had vanished into thin air, so I couldn't do it. So, it's sketchier than I'd heard, but on the whole, aside from sort of the odd surprise, aesthetically it's very rich and it runs very smoothly, again, except in the occasional cutscenes where the frame rate tends to dip a little bit. But you have to accept things like that in a game of this ridiculous size. And I have only dipped my toes in, but the fact that it's already starting to win Game of the Year awards is like, of course it is. It's BioWare doing what they do extremely well. And yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. And the multiplayer is really fun too. It's very reminiscent of the co-op in Mass Effect 3, but you move through areas rather than holding firm in one space.
Okay.
So it's.
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah, neither did I. I saw multiplayer. I was like, what the hell? But it's basic. It's more or less a reskin of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. But I really enjoyed it. It's simple but very, very entertaining. So yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition. I've only done the first 10 hours. Like I said, I feel like I'm just starting the game. But it's very, very fine so far.
Oh man, I've just given up on that. Now I'm all interested in it again.
It's really fucking good. You can tell. I mean, bit by bit, I was like, fuck! I just want to play this forever. But I know that I've heard reports of people saying that it's like 100 hours plus if you want to even make a decent dent in the story. But the side quests are so good. It's good. I think there's no question in my mind. It's one of the games of the year. It's stunning. It's just the opening. Once, like I said, once you know what everything is and what it does, It's great.
Fine. I'll start it again.
But I mean, you've only got 6 hours. It's just going to frustrate you, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I've got it on my machine, so if I want, I just press a button and it's bought.
Xbox One, though,
Well, yeah, but it's just the way it goes down.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure you won't, because you would never have. I mean, if the Evil Within took you how long, that would just take you. You wouldn't. You die before you completed that.
Well, that's very true and very possible. But I could die before I complete anything. So.
True that.
All right. My number 2 then is Destiny. Only not my number 1, because the number 1 is something that I've played an absurd amount. But Destiny has been played a lot. It's been played a lot. I have almost nothing to add to the discussion of the main side of the game, except the fact that, yes, I'm on the grind wheel. Yes, it's basically all I want to play. And no, there's not been a point where I've not had fun, which is, I was worried about getting on that grind, and it may happen. But I've thoroughly enjoyed getting up to level 26 now, and I've thoroughly enjoyed all the grindy parts of it, weirdly. I got a bit of luck that the postie gave me a legendary gun for no reason and a legendary hat for no reason, which I think helped. I presume it's because I'd spent a lot of time playing with people a few levels higher than me, so it gave me those to keep me interested. I'm guessing that's what happened, but I still just love the game. But the Dark Below DLC dropped. Now, I can't give a full comprehensive review of this content because it takes a while, a good couple of hours to unlock even the main strike, which is part of the story. There's also a second strike on PS4, which I've not played. And, of course, the raid, which I'd say is probably the main part of the content, considering how big that is. Haven't played that. I haven't even played the other raid yet, so... what I have played are the DLC are the 3. I think there's technically 4 story missions, but one of them's kind of nothing. The 3 story missions, they're all right. I mean, I can see why people are disappointed by them. I didn't pay attention to any of the story. Me and the people we were playing with were just talking over it, to be honest. But it was clearly just nothing of any consequence. It doesn't matter. I think they're well aware of that, and well aware of the people who are just going to be nattering over it anyway. I don't think they're not too worried. But the third of the 3 story missions was really, really strong. You go into a really cool looking area, have a really frantic battle, like with Destiny at its best type battle, really surviving by the skin of your teeth, reviving each other the whole time, having to come up with tactics on the fly to deal with hard enemies. Top stuff. Like, when it's like that, it's unbeatable, quite frankly. The rest of it before that was just a bit of a procession, but it all felt like we were just getting through this stuff in order to get to the real meat of the content in the strike. So I haven't played that yet. There's nothing particularly new here. I can kind of definitely see that straight away. Some of the enemies have slight tweaks to them. There's like a couple of new little things here and there, but nothing major. New areas were slim on the ground, but I think some people are going in reading that it's an expansion, expecting a new planet, expecting new races and stuff like that. That just ain't there. It just isn't there. I know it pissed a lot of people off that they locked off the daily story mission and the weekly strike for DLC content for 1 week. I'll fucking get over it, quite frankly. Like, you know, it's
that's it. Doing a weekly strike mission was something that I could do last week, and now I can't.
Yeah, but only for 1 week.
Or pay money.
I've got no problem with that, with their business model. It's just like, you know, it's an MMO without a subscription. It's a bit tight. I wish they kind of wish they hadn't done it like that, but I don't know. It just doesn't bother me at all. It's just like, you know, as a business model, it just doesn't bother me at all.
Well, there's no need to try and coerce people. I was potentially going to buy the DLC anyway, but for many reasons, I was kind of, you know, walking away from Destiny, which is what I've basically done. But that was just the last straw. I was just like, I've got a bounty to do where I have to do a weekly strike. Now I have to wait a week or pay money. That don't pull that shit on me.
No,
you've given me something and said that you've literally taken away content that you gave to me last week. That's horseshit. There's nothing that's okay about that. I don't think that's acceptable at all. So that was but that was fine for me because I needed an excuse to leave the game alone.
Yeah, I get your point of view. It just didn't bother me at all. But I basically interpreted all the pissing and moaning that I read, and I need to just stop reading people's just stuff. I need to just delete that kind of thing from my life anyway, because it adds nothing to my life. But apart from what you just said there, most people who are moaning weren't even playing the game; they're just having a fucking moan, because that's all they ever do. But anyway, the content, like I can't give a final verdict on it yet. But I just love playing the game, quite frankly. It's not something that's I'm finding is a negative in my life. I'm enjoying spending the time chatting to Dave and Matt, the only two people I play with on the game. And yeah, it's kind of like this thing that we do. You know, we've all got kids and things like that, and it's just like our little getaway for a couple of hours every few nights a week. But I don't know. Yeah, Destiny. What can you say? It's just the same thing over and over again, but I haven't found it not fun yet.
Yeah, I hadn't, and so Destiny brought on basically a full-on existential crisis, and I just thought, why am I doing this? I have had nice moments in the last few times I played it, where friends and I all needed a resource, and we were just, Sunday afternoon buzzing around, chit-chatting and picking up little things, and it was fun. It was like, this is really nice, but I don't know. It just wore me down to the point where I just thought, I really can't do this anymore. What I always need, something, new experiences. I feel like I've seen everything now that Destiny has to offer, and just having everything prolonged, and everything takes such a vast amount of time, and you needing to do X to unlock Y, and then you need to do and you're constantly. I just thought, I want to get out of this, because things what we were doing before Titanfall, Battlefield, there's still possibilities that exist in those games, but they don't exist. Destiny, I feel like I've played it to death. I mean, I'm 29, I think, and I just got to a point where I was just like, I can't. The fact that I'm being coerced into playing it more and more and more by these systems does not mean that there's more. I just think there's more worthwhile experiences to be had elsewhere. I don't feel comfortable feeling that compelled. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's fine. I'm not going to get rid of it or anything, but I don't feel comfortable playing games that are that brazenly coercive. So yeah, I kind of was looking for an excuse. It just kept making me feel hollow, and I do need things to feel fresh, and that doesn't feel fresh anymore at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So what was that?
That's my number 2.
Okay, all right. My number 1 is a game called The Crew on Xbox One. This came out last week. The full reviews are starting to arrive now, and they are all over the place. But I think it's fairly obvious that how much you like The Crew will depend on how completely seduced you are by the concept of travelling for hours across a recreation of the USA. That just appears to be the bottom line, because if you are planning on using this game as like an empty shell for long distance road trips with your friends, there are a lot of possibilities there, and thus there's shelf life. If that excites you in its own self. As far as I'm concerned, this is a really ample technical achievement that's merely masquerading as a piece of entertainment. It's an Ubisoft game first and a racing game second. And although it'd be churlish of me to not acknowledge what the game does correctly, and it does do a few things right, it's also one of the dullest and most workmanlike and kind of strangely offensive games I've played this whole year. It's offensive because, as I said, it is manifestly an Ubisoft game. Every system that's now part and parcel of every AAA Ubisoft release is here. I mean, the map's filled with content, but content that's only really content if you view content as a way of wasting 5-minute-long chunks of your life. In fact, the amount of side missions on the map makes Assassin's Creed Unity look like fucking Donkey Kong Country or something. Oftentimes you have to zoom right in before you can even see anything, because there are so many icons on the map, and I don't think that's a good thing at all. I think Rockstar are still the kings of the open world, because there is so little content in Rockstar games that could be truly described as filler, whereas arguably The Crew is nothing but filler. The gameplay is exclusively split into a few different modes. There are standard races, there are standard solo race against the clock missions, there are escape the cops missions, and those are just ripped straight from Watch Dogs and are fucking hellish. And there's missions where you have to ram a car a few times, and it's a car that's usually too fast for your car most of the time, but blah blah blah. In short, the races are not much fun because the AI is constantly rubber banding like insane. Your opponents are either receiving mysterious and impossible speed boosts to overtake you, or they're driving like Mr. Magoo and just crashing into walls. It's utterly rubbish. The cop missions, as I said, are from Watch Dogs, and they're just as unfair as they were in that. And in the Chase HQ missions, where you take down a vehicle by ramming into it, you don't need ingenuity or smarts. You just have to play it over and over again and learn the vehicle's path, because it always does exactly the same thing. As you can imagine, that's terrific fun. You also have to open areas of the map, like in all Ubisoft games, by interacting with a radio tower.
Yeah.
In the Crew, you just drive up alongside it, and there you've unlocked a part of the map, and that's it. In Far Cry and Watch Dogs, the sort of radio towers are like platforming excursions, and really likeable parts of those games. And here, what you mostly do is circle around parks, looking for the one bit of fencing that looks like it'll fall over if you drive into it. You drive into it, and then you find the satellite dish, and it's like, wait, there you go. There's also, in a game that does not need a plot, there is a plot, and there is no point in talking about the plot, because it is painfully moronic. I mean, I feel stupid for I wish I'd never referred to anything as stupid, because this is a benchmark of stupidity, and there's no way for me to talk about the decision to put the plot in this game in the first place, or the storyline itself, without being really rude. So I'll just say the whole thing feels like it was written by an 8-year-old child with a really serious head injury. There's a little bit of Need for Speed, Fast and Furious, GTA. It is pop cultural fecal matter. This was not written; it was shat out by a person or persons. It's one of the worst instances of something that could be classed as writing that I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, another problem is that the tone is so wrong. It kind of wants to be a GTA-style gangland action thriller, but you'll be driving along and suddenly, on your radio or the earpiece or whatever method it is, you talk to everyone in the game. Actually, there's one point where you take a phone call from some guy who's like, "Hey, I hear you're part of the crew, man. When you come and join my crew?" He hangs up the phone, and then 0.5 seconds later, the guy goes, "Hey, who was that?" And this FBI woman goes, "Oh, it's so-and-so." It's like, this isn't a conference call. There's just people just coming in, just constantly talking to each other, because who cares? There's no plot. But you'll be driving along, and it'll be all gritty, and it's an action thriller and rare. And then all of a sudden, "Hello, I work for the Triads. We're going to kill you. Steal that car. Maybe join our crew." Know what I mean? The voice acting sounds like it is being performed by people auditioning for an episode of The Simpsons. I'm dead serious. And that problem, that issue of tone, is prevalent throughout the game, because there are pedestrians walking around. And in the Criterion Need for Speed games, which this also weirdly kind of wants to be like, despite the fact that those Criterion games are about as cutting edge as a Police Academy movie, and all the better for it. But those games never had pedestrians in them, because why give yourself that dilemma? It's just not even worth considering. But there are pedestrians in the Crew, and they have diving animations, so they dive out of your way when you come close to hitting them. But those animations are so badly implemented that you often just hit them and pass through them like they're ghosts. So you think, why are they there? Why did they bother putting those animations in the game? Was it just to kill the illusion of a functioning world? Is it a world even? It's so weird. Are you all right?
You kind of caught me off guard there with the Triad.
That bit is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm back in the game. All right.
Okay.
What about just driving from New York to LA or whatever?
I'll get to that. I mean, at the end of the day, if that still appeals to you,
I'd like to do that and not have to play any of the missions.
This is the thing. 90% of the packet, it's just an empty shell, a world for you to go and do stuff with your friends. If that's enough, if that justifies a £50 price tag, then you're going to get your money's worth. But
how long does it take to drive from, say, New York to LA?
Where did I drive? I think I drove from was it Miami? I drove to from one end of the country to the other, and it took. Was it about? I don't know. It was. I can't even remember. Sorry, this is terrible. I should have written it down. It was a long time. Was it over an hour? Yeah, it was well over an hour.
Oh, wow.
So,
I think it really does. It feels big then.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I will say about it. If what you want is that, there's definitely a case to be put forward for you for it being worth the money that they're asking for it. But my problem. I know this is pretty much exclusive to me, but for better or for worse, I couldn't help but keep comparing it to Criterion games, because everything in the Crew is drive here or race here or follow that car. And at one point there's a chase through a disused quarry, but you just drive through it. And I couldn't stop thinking about the quarry in Burnout Paradise, where you had to gather 8 people and then all try to do a spinning barrel roll through that piece of metal tubing up high. I was just like, yes. And then there's you drive down to Cape Cod at one point, and I saw a lighthouse, and I thought, I remember that lighthouse in Most Wanted, where 8 of you just drive around getting drift points. Like, really fun stuff. But, I know that's exclusive to me. But, I mean, if you were happy with the Crew, if you saw the original pitch and just were completely seduced by it, just about taking long-distance drives... But even then, I don't even know if it will engage you in that instance, because the cars all feel the same. They have no character to them. Even if you stack your perks in favour of like clutch upgrades and whatnot, the cars feel very, very similar and not massively fun to drive. It seems this seems to have been a decision to kind of level the playing field online, but the game has no character, and it just robs it of even more character. But yet there are good things in the game. The way that you level up your car is sort of done on the fly. You pass through these little ticker tape banners, and you do these little short challenges like a speed, or you sort of do a slalom test or something.
Right.
And that really works. And the tiny germs at the very centre of the story, or rather the history of this crew that you're trying to affiliate yourself with, is quite interesting, because they basically were this street racing crew, and they started moving contraband around, and then they blossomed into this crime syndicate. It's the only part of the story that vaguely seems plausible or realistic. But when you do go on a road trip and you drive from one side of the map to the other, it's really neat. It's really impressive. Obviously, this is not the USA. It's some of the most significant parts sort of smushed together with some very picturesque cement. But it is amazing to watch the scenery change and to clearly be in a completely different part of the world. Although occasionally weird things will happen, like the weather will speed up to like 100% and just kills the illusion.
Right.
So whatever. On the whole, the game is not terrible, but it's workmanlike and it's dumb, and there isn't enough variety in it. But if that original idea, if you've got 3 friends and you're all looking about going on those long distance drives and sort of pottering around and doing your own thing rather than trying to do what the game is telling you to do, this might appeal to you. But for me, it had no character to it. It was just, I didn't really enjoy it, but I don't think it's a terrible game at all. Okay.
I would like to play it just to do that. If I could just turn off all the HUDs and people calling on your phone and whatnot.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can even do that. Yeah. That's one of the... I should have tried to see if it was possible to do that. But this was a really weird game to review, because I think I was as objective as possible. There's constant talk these days by idiots about what constitutes an objective review, and 100% of those people, what they mean is a review that they agree with. But... Yeah. I had to work a little bit to be gracious, because if I was being totally subjective, I would have given it 1 out of 10. And I kept likening it in my head to Andy Warhol's Empire, which, if you don't know what that is, it is a static shot of the top of the Empire State Building that lasts for 24 hours.
Right.
That is one hell of a feat, but it fucking isn't entertainment. Yeah. And that's the way I feel about the Crew. It's a quietly impressive non-entity of a thing, and it has no personality. It's got no personality. Everything else is stolen from it. It's just... I don't know what's happened to Ubisoft. I think I said on this show, like probably about a year ago, about how ahead of the curve they were, and how they were just clearly placing their trust in the creative people working at those studios, and they were just taking gambles on weird projects and stuff. And now look at them. They're just like an assembly line. All of their stuff's crap. It's just indistinct, sketchy. I don't know what's happened to them. This was a depressing game to play, honestly. My completely subjective review is 1 out of 10. I thought it was lousy.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, do you really think this passes? Do you really think I'm supposed to be entertained by this? Do you really think this is worth my time? Everything's just... There's 3,000 missions, all drive from A to B, why not? Rubbish. I mean, I hated it.
All right.
But if you're not me, you might like it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Okay. My number 1... a game with a lot of love poured into it, a very, very different proposition altogether. Super Smash Brothers on Wii U. And what a product it is. I will start this review by saying I've never been a huge Smash Brothers guy. I kind of didn't really get into the N64 and GameCube ones at all. I played the Wii U one, thought it was fine and fun, but didn't really get into it that much. And still, the core systems here in the Wii U version, which are, by all accounts, pretty much exactly the same, bar a few little things here and there. I'm still not a hugely massive fan of them. 4 players, it can be up to 8 players in a specific mode, but 4 players battling out on a series of platforms, moving platforms depending on the levels, trying to bash each other off the edge by accumulating damage on your opponent, then hitting them so they fly off and can't get back on. The mode might be to get as many knockouts as possible, or as many knockouts in 2 minutes, or it's completely customizable. But the standard one was within 2 minutes. And it's so frantic and it's so hectic at times that my eyes almost feel too old to play it. And I've always kind of felt like that about the game. It's almost impossible to keep up with it at times. And I know there's a technical side to the game in terms of the combos that you can sort of string together and the parries that you can do with certain characters and things like that. But for all intents and purposes, it's just kind of a brawl or a melee, hence those subtitles being used in previous games, that's just meant for a laugh, really. And, it is a game that you can clearly tell the best player will win more often than not. So it's not like that Mario Kart on the Wii. But it's not, as a 4-player sort of party action game, it's not as good as a Towerfall for me. Right, that being said, it's an amazing product. I mean, it really is an absolutely amazing product. The level of polish and sheen on this game is just, it's up there with Mario Kart 8. It doesn't look quite as nice as that game, but just the charm and invention in just the characters that you have. This huge, wide-reaching roster of Nintendo favorites, and you keep unlocking them as you play, ranging from Mario through to Rob the Robot, through to the little Game and Watch character, through to obviously Samus and different Pokemon and stuff like that. Every single character, bar none, every single character, and we play with them all, has the kind of personality that you would expect from having played them in different games. Just like Wario eats people, he grabs people and shoves them in his mouth, and it's hilarious. And the more you do it, the more gas you build up. I mean, and then you can just get a motorbike. Honestly, everything about Wario is absolutely hilarious. Who else is a brilliant character? I'm just trying to think of the top. They're all so good. Whether or not they're entirely balanced, I'm not entirely sure. But it's the charm and the brilliance. I mean, Nintendo often get likened to Pixar. I think it's an easy comparison, but they have this roster of characters. There should be a theme park, really, because I mean, like, the reason I got this game on launch day was because my little boy has been so excited about this game ever since I first showed him the trailer, because he's fallen in love with Mario, as I've spoken about on this podcast before, in that world. Since he turned 3, he's now 3.5, and this was just obviously going to like the most exciting thing in the world for him. And he absolutely, absolutely loved it. He's obsessed with it and plays it every day. And he's now got to the point where he can give me a proper game, which is ridiculous in its own respect. But like, just the skill of the people creating these characters is immeasurable. And the systems that go into playing this game, a game with so much going on, so many different moves and items and things all interacting with each other all the time. And it never even creaks to the point where it doesn't even feel like a game in the way that we've been playing games over the last couple of years, where you're expecting frame rate hitches or bugs or online connections not to work and all this sort of stuff. It feels like a product of a completely different type, almost like a fully finished thing that's taken years to make, which is exactly what it is, that you pay £40 for and it's going to last you forever, like a really good piece of furniture or something like that. Just wonderful stuff, and the amount of content and modes in there it's flabbergasting, to be honest. You've got the standard Smash, as they call it, which is the multiplayer mode, which you can play with all sorts of different levels, computer players up to 4 players. You can do 8-player Smash, so you can somehow get 8 players or 8 computer players. Is all crazy. Then there's all of that's completely customizable. There's a single player mode which you can actually play in co-op, where you choose your little character and he appears like on a board, and there are other little groups of characters around that board, and you can kind of move him towards a group, and then you'll have a fight with those lot, and it might have different like win criteria for those things. Then you fight a boss at the end, and that's great. There's an amazing selection of challenges which completely switch up the way that you need to play. It might be like Game of Watch, people are coming down on the parachutes. Remember that game when they come down like one frame at a time?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you have to keep them off your thing. There's like a weird actual board game where you roll a dice, and I didn't really get my head around that. That didn't seem that good. It was a bit too confusing for Elliot, so we haven't really played that much of that one, but that's in there. Stuff like where you're hitting a thing to try and it's like a home run thing, which has been in the other games. It's actually off the top of my head, I'm actually forgetting modes. That's how much there is in this game, all of which has been polished and fine-tuned and expertly created. And that's what it is. It's just an expertly created package. It's not a game that I'll play that I obsess over. Like, it's not as fun for me as playing Mario Kart. Just because that core gameplay doesn't really do it for me in the same way. It just never will. But good God, we've all been enjoying it. Even my wife as well. We've been playing 3-player, and just an amazing package, an amazing year end for the Wii U console that has had its problems, but has a really, really strong roster of first party games. I'm not going to rave too much about the third party stuff. A lot of the games that people love on that game from the third parties don't really do it for me. Stuff like Monster Hunter and things like that. Obviously, Bayonetta, first party, I guess I haven't played that yet. But in terms of like you're buying, one would buy a Wii U for Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Mario 3D World. I think they're the big three. There's Pikmin and Donkey Kong and New Super Mario Brothers as well. They're kind of like the second tier, and that's not to disparaging their quality. I'm just in terms of presence. But that holy trinity, those three, are easily worth the price of entry now. And the amiibo seem to be going nuts. So I'm glad my boy doesn't know what they are yet, because that's going to ruin me the second he finds out what they are. But that seems to be the thing that might turn the corner, because they're selling out everywhere and people are going crazy for them and buying them for like $2,500 or something, because people are fucking wrong in the head. But what a package. I'm not going to say what a game, because like I said, it's not something that I'm desperate to play. I'm not going to switch off this recording and run and play Smash Brothers. I'm just not. But that's going to be on rotation in my house for a long, long, long time. It's a brilliant package. Just Nintendo at their absolute peak of their powers.
What's the online netcode like?
I played a few games. It was a tiny bit laggy when I first played it, but I've not really played it that much. I hear it's still a little bit like that, so it's perhaps not as super smooth as Mario Kart. But to be honest, it's just a local multiplayer game, really. Playing it online, it just felt a bit stupid, quite frankly, because it's so nuts. You need to be in the same room as the other person, really.
Yeah. I'm interested to know how it works online, just purely out of curiosity, because it's such a fast-paced game. It doesn't strike me as something that would even work. Yeah. How would they even make that work over the internet?
With difficulty, it seems. But it's there, I played a few games and it was fun. I won one of them. But, yeah, it's just like, honestly, it's so easy to get into a game on that game. It's so well made. You start up, press the button, you've got the main huge icon in the screen just says Smash. You hit that. The person who's done that's already got their character little hand that's moving over the characters, and all you need to do to join in is pick up a controller and just move any button, any stick, anything like that, and you're straight in. You don't have to do anything else like that. So it's literally like you feel like you can just pick a controller up. It can be a Wii remote, it can be a Pro controller, whatever it is. Pick it up, turn the thing on, and then you're straight in. It just really feels like it's so well made. So it's so stupidly well made, and you can like customize all the characters and create your own Mii characters, and it's just create this huge photo mode that I've not even really played with. Ridiculous package.
But is it worth buying if you don't have people to play with locally?
Difficult to say, because I'm now in this completely bizarre upside down situation I've never been in before, haven't been in for years, where I now only have people to play with. If that makes any sense? Probably not. Probably not, unless you love the other ones and you just want to play it online, but probably not. It's definitely a game to be played with others. But then again, the challenge mode is so fucking good, and you can play that on your own for hours. So yeah, I've changed my mind. That challenge mode is absolute fucking clean.
The challenge mode in the GameCube version, Zeno played that straight for something like 3 months and just was beating high scores of himself and stuff. Yeah, little mini games and I never saw the appeal of that side of it, but that literally took up almost every moment of 3 months of his life.
It's an almighty game, really.
All right, well maybe I'll play it at some point. Know what I mean?
Yeah, you should. We'll play it one day, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. Well, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening. Episode 141 and whatnot. Facebook, at Chet and Johns on Twitter, YouTube. You know all the usual schnitzel.
All the usual shit. Drop us a review. Drop us a line. Tell us things. Don't tell us things. Keep it real, mainly for me. And don't join the Triads.
Don't join the Triads, and if you're playing Halo, don't put a skull on by mistake. Know what I mean?
Laters.
Goodbye.
Yes, I'd like a case of the Cuvée Napa, please.
Sorry, are you 18?
Oh yes, I'm 45. Is there a discount on a case?
You don't look it.
No, that's very flattering. Do you have a case of this one?
It's just that a lot of under 18s do look, 40 plus these days.
Yeah, I suppose some of them do, but I just want a case of that.
Have you got any documentary proof of your age? Sort of driving licence, birth certificate?
Actually I don't. I'm quite
sorry,
obviously...
I can't sell alcohol to anybody under 18.
Well, isn't it obvious that I'm over 18?
Well, you say that, but if it turns out that you're not, then...
well, look at the grey hair. I'm quite obviously well above the legal age, so...
It could be makeup.
Oh, come on, don't be silly. Look, I am actually in a hurry. My wife's already serving the hors d'oeuvre. I've got some important guests for dinner, and I would just like to have a case of this wine.
Well, I'm sorry, as I say, I've got to be certain, otherwise I could lose my job, you see.
Look, I'm sorry, but I do actually have to buy a case of wine. I'm quite obviously old enough to buy it.
Well, it could be false hair, couldn't it?
False hair would be ridiculous. Tell me, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Well, I've been buying alcohol in shops just like this for more than, since before you were born. In fact, I was in here last night buying some cigarettes.
Oh, yeah? Well, you can buy cigarettes over the age of 16.
Oh, I see. So I'm over the age of 16, but you don't think I'm over 18?
Well, you're obviously over 16, yeah.
How old does that make me?
I'm 17.
Oh, for God's sake. You think I'm 17?
Yeah, I think about 17.
Okay, I am 17. I'll be 18 next birthday, which is in 2 weeks' time, right? Now, I've got my wife at home, and she's a lot older than me. I'm under adult supervision, so, look, there's no one here. I won't tell anybody. Could you please just sell me the Cuvée Napa?
Oh, very sorry, I can't.
Why not?
Well, you just told me you're 17.
Oh, this is fucking ridiculous.
Sell alcohol to anybody under...
Look, I've got people waiting. They're important guests. I've had a very stressful day. I don't have time for this.
I'm sorry, son. Off you go.
Oh, well, what want is a case of wine.
All right, you had a good go.
Look, I could get you fired for this.
Don't threaten me.
Look, do you want to lose your job?
Go on, son.
Oh, for fuck's sake, this is bloody absurd.
It's very immature.
Look, I'm getting really annoyed about this. Can you just sell me the wine?
Well, I'm sorry, you're a very rude young man. If you just like to move along,
Oh,
please.
fucking right. You don't know fucking anything, mate.
I'm sure your mother would be very pleased to hear you use language like that.
For this.
Yeah, she'd be very proud of you.
How old do you think I am?